In 536 AD, the sun disappeared, and it nearly killed everyone on Earth. I'm not being dramatic. Historians call it the worst year to be alive in human history. The sun dimmed to the point where it cast no shadows. Temperatures plummeted in the middle of summer. Crops failed across entire continents. Snow fell in China during August. Famine swept through Europe, the Middle East, Asia. And then, as if that wasn't enough, a plague arrived that would kill half the people in the Byzantine Empire. This wasn't a localized disaster, this was global. And for over 1,000 years, we had absolutely no idea what caused it. Today, we're diving into one of history's most mysterious catastrophes, the climate disaster of 536 and the years that followed, an event so devastating that it triggered famines, plagues, and the collapse of empires. Something blocked out the sun and plunged the world into what scientists now call the late antique Little Ice Age. And if you're into this kind of stuff, mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew about history, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. And trust me, this story gets way more intense. The wildest part? We only figured out what probably caused it in the last couple decades, and the answer is simultaneously more terrifying and more fascinating than anyone expected. So let's talk about what people actually experienced in 536 AD, because the historical records from this year read like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie. A Byzantine historian named Procopius, who was alive during this time, wrote that the sun gave forth its light without brightness like the moon during this whole year. He said it looked like the sun was in a permanent eclipse. Other sources describe it as a dry fog that blocked the sun. In China, chroniclers recorded that you could look directly at the sun without hurting your eyes, and it appeared bluish. They also noted summer snow and failing crops. Irish annals mention a failure of bread in 536 and 539. Tree ring data from this period, which scientists use to track climate and growing conditions, shows that 536 was one of the coldest years in the last 2,000 years. And it wasn't just one bad year. The cold and darkness persisted, with another major cooling event in 540 AD. Temperatures across the northern hemisphere dropped by about 2.5 degrees Celsius. That might not sound like much, but it was enough to devastate agriculture. Growing seasons shortened, harvests failed, people starved. And then came the plague. In 541 AD, just 5 years after the sun dimmed, the plague of Justinian hit the Byzantine Empire. This was one of the deadliest plague outbreaks in human history, caused by the same bacterium that would later cause the Black Death. At its peak, it was reportedly killing 10,000 people per day in Constantinople. The Byzantine historian Procopius, the same guy who wrote about the sun dimming, wrote about bodies piling up in the streets, about the government running out of places to bury the dead. The plague spread across the Mediterranean, into Europe, reaching as far as the British Isles. Estimates suggest it killed between 25 and 50 million people. The Byzantine Empire, which had been on the verge of reuniting the old Roman Empire under Emperor Justinian, was crippled. The empire never fully recovered. But here's the question that haunted historians for centuries. What caused the sun to dim in the first place? What could possibly block out the sun across the entire planet? For a long time, we just didn't know. Medieval chroniclers thought it was a sign from God, a divine punishment. Later historians speculated about everything from solar activity to cosmic dust, but there was no solid evidence. It was just this bizarre, terrifying event that happened and then stopped, leaving everyone confused. Then, in the 1990s and 2000s, scientists started finding answers in the most unlikely places. Ice cores from Greenland and Antarctica. See, when you drill deep into ancient ice, you're basically looking at a frozen record of Earth's atmosphere going back thousands of years. Each layer of ice contains tiny bubbles of ancient air and particles that fell from the sky. It's like a time capsule. And when scientists analyzed ice cores from around 536 AD, they found something shocking. Volcanic ash. A lot of it. The ice cores showed evidence of a massive volcanic eruption in 536, followed by another major eruption in 540. We're talking about eruptions powerful enough to throw millions of tons of ash and sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, where it spread across the entire planet and blocked out the sun. Recent research has gotten even more specific. In 2018, scientists analyzing ice cores identified the likely culprit for the 536 eruption, a volcano in Iceland. The ash particles had a chemical signature that matched Icelandic volcanoes. The 540 eruption appears to have been from a tropical volcano, possibly in Central or South America. These weren't just any eruptions. These were absolutely massive events, the kind that happen maybe once every few centuries. And humanity got hit with 2 of them within 5 years of each other. When a volcano erupts with that kind of force, it doesn't just affect the area around the volcano. The ash and gases shoot up into the stratosphere, where they can circle the globe for years. Sulfur dioxide reacts with water vapor to create tiny droplets of sulfuric acid that reflect sunlight back into space. This creates what's called a volcanic winter. Less sunlight reaches Earth, temperatures drop, and everything that depends on warmth and light suffers. The 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia caused similar effects. The year after, 1816, was known as the year without a summer. Crops failed across Europe and North America. There were food riots. Mary Shelley was stuck indoors during a cold, dark summer vacation in Switzerland, which is when she wrote Frankenstein. And that was from just one eruption. Now, imagine 2 massive eruptions within 5 years, and you start to understand why 536 AD was so catastrophic. But the volcanic eruptions were just the beginning. They set off a cascade of disasters. The crop failures led to widespread famine. Malnutrition weakened people's immune systems. Social order began breaking down in some regions. Trade networks were disrupted. And then, into this weakened, stressed population came the plague. Some scientists think the climate disruption might have actually helped the plague spread. Rodents, which carry the fleas that carry plague bacteria, might have moved closer to human settlements looking for food. Or the changes in climate could have affected the plague bacteria itself, making it more virulent. We're not entirely sure, but the timing is suspicious. The combination of volcanic winter, famine, and plague created a perfect storm that reshaped the world. The Byzantine Empire was permanently weakened. In Europe, the Roman world was already fragmenting, and this catastrophe accelerated the transition to the medieval period. In the Arabian Peninsula, the social and economic disruption may have contributed to conditions that led to the rise of Islam in the following century. In Scandinavia, there's archaeological evidence of massive depopulation during this period. Entire settlements were abandoned. Some researchers think this crisis might have contributed to the legendary Fimbulwinter in Norse mythology, a devastating winter that precedes Ragnarok, the end of the world. And here's what really gets me. The people living through this had no idea what was happening. They didn't know about volcanoes on the other side of the world. They didn't understand climate systems or how atmospheric particles could block the sun. They just watched the sun dim, felt the cold, saw their crops die, and then watched the plague arrive. From their perspective, the world was ending, and they had no explanation for why. The late antique Little Ice Age lasted until around 660 AD. That's over a century of cooler temperatures and disrupted climate patterns. It took generations for the world to recover. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. This could happen again. Volcanic eruptions on this scale are rare, but they're not impossible. We're actually overdue for a massive eruption statistically. And while we'd understand what was happening, would we be any better prepared? Our global food system is incredibly complex and interconnected, kind of like the Bronze Age trade networks we talked about before. A major volcanic winter could disrupt growing seasons worldwide. We have strategic grain reserves, sure, but would they be enough if crops failed globally for multiple years? What happens to modern society when the grocery stores are empty? We like to think we're more advanced, more prepared than people in 536 AD. And in some ways, we are. We can see eruptions coming, track atmospheric changes, coordinate international responses. But we're also more dependent on systems that require everything to work smoothly. More people, more complexity, more things that can go wrong. The disaster of 536 AD shows us something important, that even without human action, without wars or invasions, nature alone can bring civilization to its knees. A volcano erupts on one side of the world and people starve on the other side. The world is connected in ways we don't always think about. What happened in 536 AD wasn't the end of the world, but it sure felt like it to the people living through it. It was a reminder that we're all vulnerable to forces beyond our control, that the sun we take for granted every morning isn't guaranteed, that stability is more fragile than we like to believe. For over 1,000 years, the disaster of 536 AD remained a mystery, a year when the sun dimmed and the world nearly ended with no explanation. Now we know it was volcanoes, but that knowledge doesn't make the story any less terrifying. If anything, knowing that this was caused by something as random as volcanic eruptions makes it worse, because it means it could happen again, and we'd better hope we're ready if it does. If you made it this far, thanks for diving into this dark chapter of history with me. Let me know in the comments if you'd heard about 536 AD before, or what you think we should do to prepare for the next major volcanic eruption. And if you want more videos exploring history's most mysterious catastrophes, you know what to do. Until next time, stay curious.